Hey everybody, welcome to the Friday 3D Printing Community Hangout. Tonight we got a couple of special guests with us, a newcomer and one that was on about a year ago and is returning to discuss the topic of the night, which is going to be community builds. What inspired the topic this month is at the beginning of the week, Adam Savage from Tested posted a video about his involvement with We the Builders, which for anybody who's been to maker fairs, Murph, they'll be at Earth this year. This is a group that has put together the um, crowdsourced large 3D prints. So basically, they take, I think one of the ones they did was Edgar Allan Poe. They took a model, a bust of Edgar Allan Poe, broke it up into like 200 pieces, sent those STL files out over the internet, and everybody picked a piece and printed it. Recently, in the last year, MakerBox did the same thing. And for Murph 2017, Jeff and Dan organized a 6-foot Rick from the Chaos Cortec Rick and Morty model. So we're going to talk about those tonight. We've got Nick with us from MakerBox to discuss the troubles and process that he had to go through, him and Kevin had to go through in order to get their 3-foot Maker coin made for New York Maker Faire 2017, back in the fall. So let's start out with the introductions, and we're going to go from my screen, bottom left to right. I'll start with Daryl.
Hey guys, I'm Daryl, the Broken Nerd. I have run a YouTube channel, The Broken Nerd, and I got invited, so I thought I would hang out tonight and join and talk and have fun tonight. So thank you for having me, and yeah, I'm excited.
All right, next up we've got John.
He's like so modest and stuff. He's like, yeah, I'm the broken nerd. It's like, yeah, but I build like really cool stuff and like I do stormtrooper helmets. And anyway, good dude. I'm glad you came on. I'm John. You do it. You can find me on Twitter, you.do.you_do_it, on Instagram, you.do.it, and you see my channel name on YouTube. I'm also on Twitch for gaming, UDOIT2, and I do a lot of other stuff. And somebody's saying I'm laggy, so I'm done.
You seem fine on our end, on my end at least.
I'm good.
Next up, we've got Nick.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Nick. I'm founder of MakerBox. I mean, we'll get into it a little later, but my big inspiration for the giant maker coin was seeing the 6-foot Rick at Murph, and after that, I knew I had to have something of my own based around the community that we built around MakerBox. And I guess a little background about me is I just finished up a degree in mechanical engineering, and so a lot of my experience and everything like that is more based on mechanical design and prototyping.
All right, next up, we've got Vicky.
Hi, how do I sound?
Sound good.
Okay, good. Hi. It's been, I think, a month and a half or so since I've been on, but I'm Vicky Somma. I'm from the YouTube station TGAW 3D, which is a little neglected at the moment. And you can find me at TGAW on Twitter. I'm actually really excited about the We the Rosies, that event that's happening for the Nation of Makers conference. And I printed 2 pieces this week. The second piece we did today, and what my family and I did, we hollowed out our piece with permission. You know, I asked, and you know, I like embedding things into prints. So what we did is my family and I, we wrote down names of women, creative women that inspire us, and we filled our print with that. And so I like that, you know, nobody can see it, but it's going to be like a little secret little thing that's in there. So yeah, that's what I'm up to right now.
Cool. All right. So, as Nick elaborated on a little bit, and Vicky's underway for the Rosie the Riveter build that we the builders are doing. They're planning to reveal that at Earth, correct, Vicky?
I think it's actually for the Nation of Makers conference. That's a few weeks before it. I think it's in New Mexico.
All right. So, for anybody who hasn't heard of a community project before, or a community build, basically somebody takes a model and scales it up, splits it up into various pieces. I know I've seen smaller scale ones that are done in like 50 pieces. Maker Box, I think, was like 120, might even been more than that pieces. Nick will probably be able to answer that better for me. But they send the files out. The idea is for one person to print one piece, but you do end up like Vicky's printing multiple pieces for it, just because you got a deadline. You've got to get these pieces out, get them assigned to people, and get them printed. So one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight is what. Oh, stuck on John. I'm sorry, everybody.
Did you lock it?
Yeah, I had it locked on John. Sorry about that. So what I wanted to talk about tonight is what it takes to put one of these projects together and see about everybody who's participated in printing pieces for one of the parts. And Nick, I'm going to start off with my first question. So after the whole project's done, where do you keep the maker coin?
So the biggest thing was when we brought it to the New York Maker Faire, we did a little live stream. We literally put together the night before the New York Maker Faire with some like 5-minute epoxy. It barely lasted through Maker Faire. So the biggest thing was I live in Boston for school. I actually had to leave in my parents' basement back in New York. And then recently we came back for Murph. And I went to Home Depot, put a nice, 1/2-inch backing on it. Then from there, I was able to bring it back to Boston, and now I'm moving out west. So it's not the easiest thing to move around, but having the backing on there and being it's a nice flat coin, you can use it, mount it on the wall. Right now, I'm using just like an art easel. It works really well to display it. I mean, some people got to see it at Murph, and we just found a nice art easel from Staples, and that was what we found the best way to just store it and display it.
Cool. I guess since we've got Nick here, first of all, I know John talked to We the Builders. We were trying to get them on, and I talked to Jeff. Jeff is the one who organized the 6-foot Rick. Him and Dan. I wasn't able to get a hold of Dan, but I did talk to Jeff. He wasn't able to get on the stream tonight. And I know John talked to Todd, I believe it is, with We the Builders. And unfortunately, it was just kind of short notice for him. He wasn't able to get on either. But I know John asked him a list of questions to the side. But since we've got Nick here, Nick, do you want to kind of go through what process you guys went through in order to get the maker coin organized, even if you want to, how you guys split the coin up, like what software you used, what methods you used to actually split it up and assign part numbers and all that stuff?
Yeah, so first, the coin itself was designed in SolidWorks. So that made it really easy to scale up. So the first thing I did was in SolidWorks, scale it to the 3-foot diameter size that we were hoping for. Then I exported that as an STL and brought it into Netfab Basic, actually. That's the only thing I could really think of. Doing it in SolidWorks could be a little cumbersome. So I brought it into Netfab Basic, and they have it where it's pretty simple to make cuts, and you just choose, how far. So I believe we did 10-centimeter sections. And being we weren't really working with three-dimensional plane, it's kind of just 2D or X and Y cuts. It made it really easy to just do 100 millimeters, and then when you got close to any detail, you might just make it a little bit bigger or smaller, so you don't have like small just small little pillars being printed out. And then in terms of organizing it, we just did like you have your A, B, C, D, E, F, G columns, and then goes 1, 2, 3. So you have like A1, A2, A3, etc. And then when people want to print them out, you just went into the folder and randomly grabbed the number, sent it to them, and then you just move that file into a different folder so you know it's been chosen. And then I had this massive Excel sheet that was, ABC 1, 2, 3, and had everyone's contact email. So, obviously, we don't expect it to be everyone's priority to print these out and mail them in. Sometimes life throws curveballs at people. So, originally we didn't have a deadline. It was just something that I wanted to do. I thought it'd be awesome to have, and a great, thing to look back on. Then New York Maker Faire came around, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should do this. And that's when I really started pushing people who haven't yet sent in pieces. And so there were a few people who did print more than one, so we can meet our deadline, like you said before. Sometimes last minute, you just gotta meet the deadline as much as you'd like to have each piece made by someone else. And then even the night before, as we're epoxying it together, we realized somehow we were missing a piece or two, and we had to print them overnight and throw them in the morning. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The NetFab Basic, it's really easy to make your slices. I'm sure there's a much faster and efficient way of doing it, but in terms of what we're doing in total, I think we had 125 pieces, and it was just simple cuts in your X and Y plane, and we were done.
How many pieces did you say you had?
It was 125 pieces in total.
And how many different, you might not even know this off the top of your head, how many different people did you have end up printing pieces for you?
So I know we had at least 60 different people. I forget what the exact number was, the original amount of people we sent out, because when I first sent them out, I maxed it where people can only do 2 at once. I know we had at least 60 people, so it's a lot of shipments coming in, and sometimes people don't label the parts like you ask them to, so you have to go back, look at the shipping label, see who it came from, and then it's kind of like a puzzle. Like putting it all together is a big puzzle piece, so I couldn't imagine doing something with a Z level to it.
Yeah. Now, and everybody else, you guys are free to ask questions too. Don't let me just be the only one asking. When in hindsight from doing the project, I know like from printing my pieces, you had like A1. Mm-hmm. Was there any thought afterwards about, man, it would have been nice if somehow we could have had the part number included in the model, like on the back side or something like that? So you just basically flip them all upside down and put it together that way to sort them out.
Yeah, I think ideally, right, especially if you're doing something as big as like what we the builders do, I think having the part number somehow on there would be awesome. It makes it a lot easier for everyone else. Well, I mean, a lot easier when you put it together. But at the same time, you get problems when adhering the parts together. So for us, it would have been super easy because, right, if we put on the bottom of it, it would be great. But if you do what we the builders do, and you, like I said, you have those Z stages, bonding even with flat surfaces is a little rough. So having those pockets and stuff where there's less contact surface area might be rough. I mean, it could also be good in the sense of like pockets where more pieces of epoxy can build up. I don't know. It's tough. That's a good question, though. I don't know if there's any perfect answer until you try it.
Yeah. I was thinking something like your maker coin would have been like the most ideal because you could like put the letters on the back. And
right.
Even though ideally the part would be printed from the back up on the print bed.
Right.
You don't really care about supports and stuff, just as long as you can kind of recognize what
exactly.
the impression was.
That would make tons of sense. I think the biggest thing is going in and processing that and adding those in.
Yeah.
Is the issue. So I'm sure there's people out there who know how to automate it, especially when you go into more scripted CAD softwares. But yeah, that would have been probably a big time saver. But yeah, like I said, I think the real challenge too is when you go with something that has more three dimensionals to it, and it you have to worry about bonding the parts together. I could see that becoming an issue potentially.
Did you have problems with pieces? I mean, like, you've got people whose printers aren't calibrated properly, so you're not getting exactly dimensionally accurate pieces like what you put out. Did you have problems in that respect as far as your pieces?
Yeah, I mean, you have like your little waviness and stuff like that. Again, overall, our contours were pretty simple, so it was probably the best thing we could have done in terms of community build. But there is still some misalignment. I mean, if you look at the coin today, it's not perfect, but at the same time, I think that's what makes it. I wasn't expecting something perfect. I was just expecting something just completely original and unplanned. I didn't tell people like, oh, what color should I make? I just said choose, either your favorite sample from MakerBox or your favorite color and filament to print with, and just like make it interesting. So we had some people who just switch filament every 10 layers. We had people. So one person did a wood-filled filament, sanded it down and stained it and sealed it. We had flexibles around the edges. So a lot of like creativity came out of it by just giving people the freedom. So I think it really depends when you do community build, like what do you want the end product to be, right? Do you want? I know like the We the Builders too. Some of their community builds, they'll say, okay, this is for the hair, so choose like a black, right? And this is the shirt, choose like a blue. So it will be a little different because there's different blues and blacks. And then they have some where it's kind of just random, right? So for me, I really just want it to be like more of an art piece where it's just blown out and you can see everyone's favorite materials. But I at the same time, I don't think what they do by like saying go with this kind of color, I don't think that ruins it. I think it's still awesome. Again, it's just like what you want in the end and what you see the project as.
Yeah. Do you guys have questions for Nick? Everybody's muted. Crap, I just had another question for you. Oh, if you did it again, is there anything you'd do different?
Ooh, yeah, a lot. I think the biggest thing is preparing better, right? When you just tell someone, hey, print this and send it back with not enough guidance, it can be a little rough. So for this, obviously, I didn't want to give them too much guidance. I wanted there to be the creativity. But there's a point where I don't think enough guidance was given in terms of like how to label it properly, so I know what it is, and just checking in on people. I didn't want to be bothersome by checking in on them like every week or something. But yeah, just I guess more of the project management side of things and just briefing them on what to do better would have made my end a little smoother. But that was the fun part, was figuring everything out.
I know I was guilty of being one of the ones like the week before Maker Faire, you were messaging me saying, hey, where's your parts? Until it was all said and done, I ended up printing the 2 parts that you guys gave me. And then I think I did, was it 2 more? I shipped those out, and like that night I printed 2 more pieces just to fill in some gaps for you.
Yeah, and that's what I said. We didn't really have a set deadline because I didn't want to push people, and there was no real time for me to show it off. And then finally we were like, hey, let's just go to do New York. And this was at the time I was living out in California, so for me to fly over just for the event was like a big deal. And then I was up all night. I think I had maybe like 3 hours of sleep that whole weekend just banging that coin out to get to the Maker Faire. So it was an awesome experience.
Ask in the chat. I did see somebody asked about putting key slots in the parts.
I could see that being a problem though, because if your tolerances,
yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
I think if you had the receiving hole larger, and that way, no matter what your tolerance is on your printer, it would still work to at least get the parts in there. Like you would have room to move it around. That's what I'm saying. If you made the receiving hole not match exactly, just make it larger by like maybe 1 millimeter or 2, maybe 3 millimeters larger. in diameter.
Yeah, I think as we said before, you know, coming up with working with everyone's printers and everyone's different materials and different skill sets, it can be tough to design something that can all the parts can easily interlock. You'd have to have some pretty big tolerances. You know, especially like something like the 6-foot rick. It would be totally awesome to have some wooden dowels or like aluminum pole going through the middle, so you can like slide parts onto, so it's easy to, you know, break apart for storage and stuff like that. But you have to figure out how much play do you want to give them. So something like for what we did again, it was pretty simple. But I think you just add too much complexity by trying to make interlocking parts or some sort of keys.
Yeah, I agree that would be difficult. So I got a list of things that Todd went through. Do you know Todd, Nick? Todd from We the Builders.
No, we met at New York Maker Faire. Just quick, but don't formally know him.
He runs custom3dstuff.com. He's got an Etsy store and everything. So he said that everything that you were describing is extremely manual, time-consuming, tedious work. His steps, which probably exactly what you said, get a model, slice it into pieces using mesh mixer, plain slice, and then you have to save each slice as a separate STL into the XYZ. Render each one to get an image. Then you put them up on the We the Builders site, or where did you host yours at, Nick? Did you host it with We the Builders or someplace else?
No, yeah. So that's what someone was asking too. Is, you know, how do we get people to join? For us, I ran MakerBox, we had a great community already built, like in our Facebook group and our emailing list. So for us, it was just, hey, message me and I'll send you a part. So what they have is a little more formal, I would say, than what we were doing.
Yeah, okay. And then they just said the same thing as, you know, mail it in, and then they got to lay it out layer by layer and solve the 3D puzzle, and then stack up the layers one at a time. So, and you use 5-minute epoxy, huh?
Yeah, we like I said, we were doing it the night before New York Maker Faire, so we need something that would cure by the time we had to load up in the car and bring it there. So it was not a long-term solution. Like I said, it lasted like a day, and then we put a backing on it that really secured us down.
You guys, New York Maker Faire was pretty hot, and I know some people with 3D printed parts had any problems. Did you guys have any issues with the Maker coin from the heat?
I wouldn't say any issue. We were luckily in the shade pretty much the whole event. So I didn't see any. Now I gotta go look at it. You have me scared. But no, not that I remember. No.
Okay. I didn't know if like some people kind of like trying to be involved in it, but not using a lot of material, probably sent hollow or just vase mode parts essentially. I didn't know like those probably would be more susceptible to the heat than maybe something with 4 perimeters or something like that. So I was just curious if you guys saw any issues with it or not.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not off the top of my head. I don't remember seeing anything, but then again, I could not be looking close enough. Right. I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight, so I'll go downstairs and check it out for you.
If you guys can give me a minute, go ahead and keep talking amongst yourselves. I'm going to get a link over to Jennifer from We the Builders.
I can send it right now.
Oh, do you have her? Go ahead.
Yeah, you just have to follow me, Jen, and I'll DM it to you.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, there's Country.
Hey, man, I wanted to say thank you for all that gold happens that y'all kind of left on the table next to me at Murph. I appreciate that. I've still got over 1 kilogram of gold happens.
Anytime.
So
Yeah, go ahead, Country. Since you just joined in, if you want to do your intro.
you really want me to do an intro? No, I'm just kidding. Have you seen my streams and you turned me loose on something like that? No, I'm Walter. I do Country 3D. Mostly right now I'm doing a morning chat. I do have some segments that are coming up I think a lot of people are going to be interested in. I believe I got my first lockdown on Monday. I am going to do one-on-one live interviews with the maker community individuals. And because those content creators that I met at Murph, they interviewed a lot of folks, but a lot of folks didn't interview them. Matt, you're locked to yourself again, by the way.
No, I'm not.
Oh, is that just me?
Yeah, that's just on your end. Yep.
Oh, okay, never mind. My bad. But anyway, I'm Walter. I got a little channel called Country 3D. We hang out, we make stuff, we break stuff. Sunday, you want to see a fun stream? Sunday, starting at 8 a.m. We start on a TiVo Little Monster, and I can pretty much promise you it's going to be an all-day affair. Pretty much. So, it'll be one of those marathon streams, but y'all come see me. Oh, and I sent them a message a while ago, too. My next maker project is I'm going to 3D print the frame for a Hypercube Evo. So the entire Hypercube frame will be printed, kind of like the Cartesian one that I took to Murph.
Cool.
The i3. But that's me.
I'm just about done just sending Jen the link. She's going to come on stream audio only, so we won't have video of her, which is fine. So anybody in the chat has questions for Nick or Jen or Jennifer, I'm not sure which she prefers to go by. She's with We the Builders, which they're the ones doing the Rosie the Riveter that's going to be at Earth. And Vicky, you said, what was the other one?
Prefers the Nation of Makers conference, I think.
Nation of Makers, there you go.
Yeah.
Rosie the Riveter that's going to be at Earth. And Vicky, you said, Jennifer, we're getting some.
Nation of Makers conference, I think.
Nation of Makers, there you go. We're getting some feedback from yours. Might have to turn the volume down a little bit. Jennifer, we're getting Nation of Makers. All right, I'm going to mute her just for a quick second there to hopefully let that filter out. Nation of Makers, right, Vicky? Sorry, I got distracted when she jumped in.
No, yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
I can look up when it is. It's early June. I think it might be in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
All right, guys, go ahead and talk amongst yourselves real quick. I'm going to try to help get Jennifer straightened out.
Yeah, the Nation of Makers conference is June 9th and 10th in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So, can you kind of give us a little summary of like what goes on there at the conference?
Yeah, I think this might be the first one that they've done, so I'm not sure.
It is the first one, yeah.
Yeah. But I bet it's fascinating and fantastic and meeting inspiring people, you know, just like you would at a maker fair, I would think.
All right. How's my audio now?
Now you sound great.
Sounds fantastic.
Awesome.
So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Jennifer? I kind of told everybody that you're with We the Builders, but if you want to let everybody know like what your involvement is with We the Builders, and I guess if you want to roll right into what you guys do to prepare for doing the projects and stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting I may have another window with this open because I'm hearing everything we're saying on a delay.
Pause the YouTube video if you have that going somewhere.
Oh, that is so weird. Okay, I think we're good now. Everything we were saying was like repeating back to me 30 seconds later. It was very strange. I think we're good. Sorry, can you? I am so sorry for all the technical difficulties. Can you just give that little intro again, because I couldn't hear anything that you were saying.
Sure. If you just want to go ahead, introduce yourself and what your involvement is with We the Builders. Basically, all I've told everybody so far is that you're one of the members, organizers of We the Builders. So if you just want to kind of introduce yourself, and if you want to go right into what you guys do to prepare one of the We the Builder projects.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Jen. I am affiliated with Nation of Makers and We the Builders and a number of other groups and spaces. But yeah, basically, we're doing a huge sculpture this year, the biggest that We the Builders has ever done. It's about 6 feet tall, just over 2,600 parts. And we started off with a 7-inch sculpture made at a Sculpey that I did like 2 years ago, just like by hand. And then we basically bring it to a professional, like, rapid prototyping facility that has a Faro arm, which is like, I don't know how much they cost. I think it's like a $20,000 piece of equipment, but they have some really high resolution scanning abilities. So they scan it at a really high polygon count so that when we scale it up, the resolution stays pretty good. And then I heard you guys mention Todd. So he does most of the CAD work. So we'll take that digital file, bring it into Mesh Mixer, slice it along all 3 axes, and then label, each of the parts with a coordinate system. And then we've got another person on the web team who's created this, pretty streamlined platform to get all the parts out to people so you can log in and download them. And then we've got a whole admin system on the back end that allows us to look at the images and check them in and follow along when they've been shipped. So there's sort of a three-part system for how the whole process works.
Cool. So you guys actually go from a sculpture to a 3D model rather than doing like digital sculpting in something like oh crap, I just drew a blank on the name of the software, like ZBrush or Mesh Mixer. You take a real life object, scan it, and then bring it in and clean it up.
It varies by project. So in the past, the first 2 that they did were like marble statues, and they scanned, those were like existing pieces that they scanned. The 3rd one they did was a digital model first. So I'm not sure who the artist was on that, but they did a model of Edgar Allan Poe.
I think it was Ryan Kittleson.
Oh yeah, that sounds right. That was before I joined the project. But yeah, so he did a digital, rendering of Edgar Allan Poe, and then they used that file for the scan. Or I mean, it wasn't really scanned actually. They used the file for the slicing, I should say. But yeah, so it varies by project. We haven't done any actual humans yet. It's like only representations of people, but it'd be interesting to see how that would come out if we scanned a person.
What kind of time do you guys devote to preparing this? Like the Rosie the Riveter, how far in advance did you start before kind of going public and letting the public know? And then,
oh gosh,
maybe that's not a question with an easy answer either. I'm not sure.
No, I'm saying oh gosh because it was a lot of time. I mean, we didn't have a lot of time, but it required a lot of time. There were sort of a lot of moving pieces, and we were trying to figure out who all was bought in on the project because it is such a large scale, and we've never had that many contributors before. So we needed to find out whether we were going to have sort of the support we needed to make it happen. So we pretty much found out. I'm trying to think of our timeline. Maybe like 2 weeks before we started the slicing, and got everything, like the web guys started to get the parts admin system really streamlined to handle that many users. And basically the slicing process took, we tried a couple of different things. I know I'm jumping in late, so I don't know how much technical stuff you guys got into, but we initially tried using a plugin for NetFab. Someone wrote a piece of code that will take your parts, it'll slice the file, and then it'll also basically like engrave almost into each piece the coordinates, so that when you get your part, it has your XYZ coordinates sort of like indented into the print. So there's this really great plugin that like automates the entire process start to finish, saves out all of your files. Like it's totally like you can just set it up and run it and walk away, which we were really like fingers crossing that it would work. It didn't work because it was like a 5-year-old plugin and we couldn't get a hold of the guy who wrote it. And anyway, long story short, we did it by hand in Mesh Mixer, sliced it into 2,600 files, and then Todd and I basically divided it up. I started at the top, he started at the bottom, and we spent like 3 or 4 entire days just saving out every single part in the entire sculpture one by one.
Yeah, we were actually, Nick used NetFab when they did the Maker coin, the 3-foot Maker coin for MakerBox.
Oh,
And
cool.
They used NetFab to do it. And I actually asked about, if there was a way, if they had thought of a way to try to like engrave, like you said, the coordinates. So that's actually kind of neat that you guys are doing that to make life easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the parts have the engraving in on.
No, not
the
for
two
this
I
one.
did. Didn't.
No,
Yeah,
they don't.
Sorry.
that was a function. We were hoping for that functionality, and a friend of ours wrote this like really awesome piece of code for I think it's like Grasshopper or something. It's a Grasshopper application, script. But it didn't work the way we wanted to. NetFab also has a feature that it's like split large STL or something, which we were hoping would work, but it didn't do. It didn't close off the shapes in the way that we wanted. So that we tried a couple different things, but if anyone has a way to make that system automated, that would like take the whole process to the next level.
Yeah, so I could speak from what we did with ours. We only worked with XY splitting. We didn't have any, height to ours, but I did it all on NetFab Basic, and NetFab Basic has a cut mode, so you can cut in sections. So we did 100mm sections, so you can do that in X, Y, and Z. And then actually, when you go to cut it, you can have it separate those parts into their own parts, and they're fully closed off in solids. Then what you get in your part tree is just all those parts, and you can literally select them all and then just click export, and it exports them all as an STL at once. The only biggest thing is just before you do that, naming each part whatever you want the file name to be. But you don't have to go in individually and like click, all right, export, and then export, and then export. You just, most time is spent naming things, and then once you name them all, you can select all and export them all, and it will export them all as separate files.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember what our reason for not using NetFab was. There was a reason. Todd is definitely is the CAD expert. I was just sort of helping how it was so much work that he was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and like train me how to do that specific thing. So he's the brains behind that. There was a reason why I can't remember why we didn't end up going with NetFab, but yeah, the part naming process, I mean, for 2,600 parts was like mind-boggling, and you have to figure, because we were doing 3 axes, so figuring out what one of them is, and then you count across in space 3-dimensionally, like, okay, if this is X4, Y2, Z13, this is now which one is this, and you've got to like keep it all in your head and then name them and save them, and that's the long answer, but it is incredibly tedious. We both, 2 of us, spent like 4 whole days naming and saving all of the parts, so a lot of work that happened very quickly.
Did you say 2,600 parts?
Yeah, 2,625.
Yeah, 2,625. I wrote it down just in case we needed to say it.
Yeah.
Now, there was a question in the chat from Ron, the Happy Extruder. He asked if you guys know how many pieces are left that need to be printed yet. And I did post the link.
When I was on earlier, there were 600 parts that were in progress. I didn't write down the exact number, though.
So
yep,
2,600 and some more.
I just pulled another one. I'm going to print my second one now.
The stats as of right now, 629 parts in progress. We still need 1,996 parts that need someone to claim them.
And you guys want it in 3 weeks, is that correct?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
The conference, like you said earlier, the conference is the beginning of June, and we built in a little bit of buffer because there'll be we're gonna have a team there in New Mexico checking in parts as they arrive, but I'm sure there'll be catch up to do, and if parts get lost in transit or arrive messed up, like we want to be able to make sure that all 2,600 plus parts are good to go. So we built in like a little bit of buffer before the conference, but yeah, we just need as much participation as possible.
Do you know if that sculpture might make its way to Maryland for the IRF festival that's going to be on June 23rd and 24th?
I won't say no. We haven't made any plans to ship it. Even obviously it'd have to be freight shipping. I don't know how much something like that would cost to freight ship. But I mean, I would say we're open to it if someone wants to sponsor it traveling.
I can sponsor it getting to, if it's shipped to me, I can sponsor getting it to Earth for you, transportation and receiving and everything.
Yeah.
And
so after the expensive part is done,
exactly.
Got it.
How we could, as a community, maybe make that happen.
I can contribute a little bit to it. I think we can all just like contribute to it. I don't think anybody would have a problem donating like $5, $10. We just need a quote.
Do you think, and maybe this is something to go back to you guys, if we could somehow get an estimate of what it would cost, maybe if the community put together a GoFundMe to get it to Earth.
What's the actual total size and stuff? What do you think it'll weigh?
Todd did an estimate of one of the arms, just an arm, when we had a slice. Yeah, he was estimating the arm at around like 20 pounds. We are going to build an armature into the inside because it's sort of weighted in one direction, like it's weighted forward with the arm sort of sticking out. So there'll be an internal armature and it'll probably be bolted to some kind of platform. So with all that, it's hard to say. I know that the previous sculptures weigh around like 20 to 25 pounds each, and they're only, around average like 200 parts, and they are like about 2.5 feet tall. So yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be 6 feet tall and around 6 feet wide. So it's going to be massive.
Well, I know we used to ship stuff freight, and RL Gator had a flat rate for a certain size. I mean, and then you had to add for that, and I can't remember because it's been years ago, but it was a lot cheaper if you used the flat rate than, versus the other. And so, I mean, it may not be as expensive as people think to do something like that.
That's good to know. I looked a little bit into freight shipping, and a bunch of people just started spamming me about quotes, so I haven't looked into it anymore. But what's that company that you mentioned?
It's RL Gator.
RL Gator. Okay,
yeah.
I'll look into that.
Jen, just you've got me on Twitter. As far as the offer to like receive it and everything, I can receive it at my work and get it from there to Earth. If you guys would be serious about it, and maybe we could do a community fund to be able to get it there, I'd be fully willing. Hang on to my Twitter handle and keep me in touch. If you guys want to do it, I'd definitely be willing to help make it happen.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to the team, and I know, the initial plan was to like gift the sculpture to the city of Santa Fe. We don't have a place where it's gonna live yet, and it's such a massive piece that we need to find a home for it. So there's it hasn't been promised to anyone yet, but I'll talk to the team about it and see what everybody thinks. I think right now we're so focused on like how can we get all these parts finished and there, and how can we make this
into the end project.
Right.
Now, did Adam Savage approach you guys, or did you approach him?
This was an interesting one. So I've done a couple projects with him in the past. We did a big project for the White House a few years ago, and then last year I did a piece with him for South by Southwest. And we knew that he was coming to this conference, and we sort of have like a rapport now of like making these monumental, crazy installations for different festivals and events. So I just reached out and was like, hey, I know you're going to NomCon. We're thinking about doing this crazy project, but we need like an insane amount of promotion. Would you be interested in doing another crazy build with us for a festival conference situation? And they said yes. So yeah, that's how that came about.
Super neat. Thanks for the background info there.
Sure,
yeah, that's cool. That was how I found out you guys were doing it. I've seen you guys at New York Maker Faire, at Murph, and even down at Nova. I've seen the sculptures here and there, and I had no idea you guys were doing another one. But I've downloaded my pieces, and for anybody who is interested in the chat, I'm going to post the link in there again. If you go to the link that I posted for We the Builders, at the top, it'll ask you to sign in with your Google account, and maybe there's some other sign-in options too. It just asked me about Google. You sign in, and it'll give you a part to download. And looks like on the part that I got, the part does need to be a particular color, and that for my part, that's skin tone. So kind of pay attention to that, and it gives you.
I think my understanding was they're all going to be skin tone. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So any the sort of background is that the conference, the theme of the conference that we're doing this for is intentional inclusion. So we're trying to represent like a whole wide range of identities. And so we're hoping that people will print them in a lot of different skin tones. It doesn't just have to be one. So that sort of rendering that's at the top of the site, that's our like visualization of what it might look like.
Okay.
But it could be, I mean, it could be like wood filament, it could be metal, bronze fill or copper fill or something, glow in the dark, like anything that's fits within that sort of color palette. And I think there's on the page, there should be a, like down on the right-hand side, there's like a little collage I put together of skin tone choices from different manufacturers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you have it there.
Yep. And that, yeah, I just like pulled from a couple different places and to see what sampling of different filaments are available.
All right.
I will say, I mean, we don't want the filament color to be a barrier to people participating. Like if you don't have a color like that, you can just like paint it or I don't want to tell everyone to do this, but if you want to send it in, we may be able to paint some of them later. But I mean, I would encourage people to print it in a color if they have one or if they can get one. There's a couple of manufacturers that offered like discount codes for us. But if you can't get a hold of that filament, you can always just paint it before you send it in.
Yeah, on the subject of painting, I believe I spied Josh from Design Mike Teach on Twitter today. He was reaching out to someone who may not necessarily have a 3D printer, and he was offering to print the part and let them paint it. So that's another way we can involve other people outside who don't have 3D printers. Like we can print the parts for them, and then they can personalize it and ship it in.
That's really awesome. And I saw Josh, Design Make Teaches, just said that he printed the piece in white and then had a female maker color it. So that's awesome too. Like any way that we can get more people involved. I know our maker space is hosting an event. So we're letting different people from the community, whether or not they've ever even used a 3D printer, just come to our space and check it out and be part of the project. And they can claim a part and pick the filament color they want to use. And then our makerspace is just going to run them all on the bot farm for people, whether or not they're printers themselves.
I know it was asked and answered in the chat, but I'm just going to ask it for on stream in case somebody's watching later on, not watching the chat or watching now and not paying attention to the chat. People are asking if it's one part per person or if you can print multiple pieces and how you go about printing multiple if you're allowed to.
You totally can. I mean, I think that's probably one of the ways that we'll really get to the total number of parts. There isn't a way right now in the system to claim multiple parts at a time. It's sort of like one at a time. A couple people have asked about that, and it's something I already asked the team about, and they kind of were like, but because it's come up so much, it may be something potentially that we can look into. I don't know what's involved in that on the back end. And it's more of like a logistical thing. Like if somebody logs in and claims like 20 pieces, like there's no way for us to guarantee that they're all going to get printed. So the one at a time, basically you log in, claim your part, and then there's a series of steps. So you have to like take a picture of it. We have to approve it. Then you tell us that it's shipping and provide the shipping information. And I think once you say that it's shipped, then you can go in and claim another piece. So it's a one at a time process right now. But you can certainly print as many as you want. There's some people that are printing, let's see. Top contributor has printed 10 pieces. So
Yeah, I'm on my second piece and I didn't ship the other one yet.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I actually haven't been in the back into the system in a while, but yeah, there is a process, but you can't like claim 6 parts simultaneously and then print them all concurrently.
So you once you submit in, like you could give the measurements, and I'm realizing I didn't submit pictures, but somehow they still approved my parts. But you send in your measurements for a sanity check, I think is how it's described on the website, and then you can claim a new print right away. And I've the last time for the last Rosie the Riveter, I just queued up a little bit and sent them all in one box, and that's what I'm going to do this time around as well.
I like the term sanity check. I'm just thinking
that's
about
theirs.
the people on the back end. That's your sanity saying, "Yep, here, this part's." I just like the term.
We won't have any sanity left by the time this thing comes to be.
I bet. Yeah. So when you guys, a little bit sidetracked question. When you start to join the pieces together, what medium do you use? Is it epoxy, or is there something? What have you guys found to be the best material so far?
Todd was using a particular kind of glue last year, and I the name is escaping me right the second. I can look it up. But we decided, well, we have a couple things. So when we built them in the past, like we did a smaller version of this Rosie statue last year. And we've done a couple of the sculptures with the help of a local makerspace, like a youth makerspace. So they'll invite a bunch of kids out and like lay all the parts out, and we put them together at the same time. So there's a couple issues with that. One, because the parts they're not always aligned correctly, but also we need the glue to like have some drying time to let us like reposition things. For this build, we went with a quicker drying glue, and we wanted to, because it's so big, we wanted to be able to just like dispense it with caulk guns. Let me pull up. I have my planning document open here. I can't remember the glue that we settled on, but we looked at 2-part epoxy. I think what we landed with is just a like a quick dry adhesive sealer type thing. And we haven't actually experimented with it yet, so we probably should order some and test it before we buy it in bulk for this.
Yeah, Loctite makes something that you can use in a caulk gun. It might be what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think what we landed with is this. It's Liquid Nails, an all-surface construction adhesive. I can paste the link in here. And like I said, we haven't tested this yet, so if anyone has suggestions. So you're saying, oh, it's not letting me post links.
You gotta give her,
just like post hi, and I'll make you a moderator so you can post a link then.
Oh, it doesn't like that either.
I may have put you in a temporary timeout. Give it a couple seconds and try it again.
No worries. Well, I mean, anyway, it's like Liquid Nails in a container from Home Depot. It was cheap, and it looks like it'll dry quickly enough. And yeah, but you were saying Loctite might have something similar.
Yeah, Loctite does. The only concern I have with the Liquid Nails is maybe it might be incompatible with some of the the
materials.
Test tell you, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. This one says that it's all surfaces.
Yeah, that's all surfaces for construction. So like they're
right.
Like, you're talking about wood and like some type of plastic you might put against the wood. They're not. I don't think they're considering what us in the 3D printing community uses.
Right. I mean, according to Home Depot, it says it bonds everything to everything except polyethylene and polypropylene in any weather condition, temperature, etc. However, have not tested that, and we don't know what type of filament people will be sending in. So
does that mean CPE is out? Would anybody be using CPE for printing? We don't know.
I don't know. I don't think it requires people are not required to enter the filament type when they send it to us.
Well, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, these are good. There's like a million things happening at every moment for this project, but this is like, to-do list. We need to get one tube and test it and do this before we order like 100 of them.
There was a question, two questions actually. One I'm going to jump ahead to real quick, and then we'll go back to the other one. John Mack in the chat was asking if the glue would be too thick for the parts to fit together. Like, I know liquid nail, you really have to compress it in order to make it, to get it thin enough and have your parts actually squished together without much of a seam.
Right, like the actual viscosity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something I'm concerned about also, especially if it's meant to be dispensed in a caulk gun. Like, it's probably not a very thin application. I just remembered the glue that we used before was E6000.
That's good
which,
stuff.
Yeah, which worked really well. The issue with that is, well, one that I found is it's expensive, and it also doesn't come in like very large. Like, we were using tiny little tubes of it, like little 2-ounce tubes.
Like the shoe repair size ones.
Right. And I mean, for this, when I started running numbers for like our budget on this, and it was just like outrageous. The adhesive was the most expensive part of the whole project, I think. So yeah, we definitely need to do some experimenting before that. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that we had a problem with the last time with the previous Rosie, so what we did differently is this one we sliced just straight on a grid. Last time we, or Todd, I should say, because Todd does all the CAD work, he separated out each of the sections. So like the hair was a section, the body and like arms were a section, the shirt was a section, and then each of those got sliced. But what that meant is that we could, like, the whole piece would be assembled basically and fit one inside of the other. Because of like the tolerance, like, so you're attaching all the pieces, and then that whole composite piece has to have a tolerance to fit into the other one. And we had a lot of issues with alignment. The glue itself was fine. Like, we didn't have anything with like the glue being too thick, but the pieces were not always fitting together. So we had to like heat gun stuff and try to smash it together. We shaved parts off on a bandsaw. It was like, there was some Frankenstein stuff happening. So this one we just sliced straight on a grid. There's no interlocking parts of any kind. But, you know, for registration of each layer, the thickness of the glue will definitely be an issue if it prevents them from sticking together flush.
Here's the this is the glue that you're talking about.
Yep.
And this is a 3.7 ounce, and it goes for like $7 on Amazon. And
right.
You get quite a bit out of this.
I think that Todd said we use like potentially like 5 or 10 of those for the small build. So if we're scaling her up like 8 times, I'm trying to run numbers in my head. I mean,
yeah,
we did it's like
40
8,
tubes.
it's like, yeah, I mean, it would just like, so the ones that we were looking at are.
Hey, you're at $300 right there for E6000.
Yeah, the one that we're looking at is a 9-ounce tube for $7. We just have to make sure it's the right type of.
You know what though? I'm thinking if you're going to do that, if you're good, E6000 is good stuff. I swear by it. I bet you could work with a company and get them to cut you a deal and say, look, you know, we're building this thing. It's for inclusion. Hey, and I bet they'll do something for you. I can reach out to them if you want.
If you have any connections there and / are able to, that would be incredible. You can. Well, I guess you have my email now because we're on Hangouts together. You can shoot me an email or follow me on Twitter or something. Just I mean, if
I'm following
if you're
you
able
Twitter,
to,
just follow me back. Yeah, I'll contact you.
That would be awesome. As you can see, this is a very ad hoc. It came together extremely, extremely fast, and it was kind of like, okay, we got the go, do it now as fast as you can. Oh, and it has to be done in a month.
Hey, I was just doing some looking too. I found E6000 in caulk 10.2 ounce caulk tubes for $6.25 online.
Wait, what? That's cheap.
I know, I'm like, what?
That's like dirt cheap for E6000.
Where are you looking?
All I did was just did a Google search for E6000 caulk tube. That was the first one that came up. Now, Home Depot does have it too, but
a 10.2 ounce, yeah, because that'll fit in a
12 pack for $80.28 from Home Depot.
All right.
So you maybe want to stick with your too, yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff that we know and that we've used before. The other concern, I guess, is like the drying time. So in the past, we wanted to have like to be able to reposition it because we're working with kids, but for we're going to have like a team of people like basically leading the build of each layer, and then we'll attach all the layers. So I think we don't have to we need them to dry quickly. So I don't know if they have the quick dry E6000. That's the other.
Yeah, that part I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll look into it. That's good to know because I think that's definitely a much better price, and it's a the right thickness, the right viscosity adhesive for what we're looking for.
Yeah, I sent that link to Home Depot to you in a DM, just so you have that as a starting point if you want.
Awesome, thank you.
See,
no, this is great.
That's cool.
Is Daryl still on? I want to ask him what he uses for.
I think he stepped away, but I think he'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a question for him about what he uses to glue together prints. Oh, are you there? Design, Make, Teach. Josh asked what kind of adhesives you like to use for your 3D prints.
I mostly use 5-minute epoxy, and then I'll alternate between just like some CLA glue, but I mostly use 5-minute epoxy. So that tends to, I don't know, with this project that may not be something to look into, but it just helps with smaller projects that I do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
I was gonna say for that, is that like a two-part epoxy that you have to like blend the?
Yes, and just recently I did some work with Adam, and he has a specific tool that actually mixes it for you. So all you have to do is pull the trigger like a hot glue gun, and it automatically mixes it for you, and you just apply it straight to the surface that you're gluing.
I saw some of those. They're fancy. They like McMaster sells some, and I think Home Depot has one that blend it. Like there's
they have like a syringe one that has like a spiral on the end of it. Like Home Depot and stuff.
Those are fairly expensive too. I think it's like a $60 gun or something. Maybe the McMaster ones are. We were thinking about that too, and that maybe is something we should look into also. I mean, just in terms of. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say if you do look into like the self-mixing epoxies and stuff, which is definitely if you're gonna do epoxy, that's the way to go rather than trying to hand mix and keep the quantities proper and everything. The guns, from everything I've heard, the guns are really worth their money versus like the plungers like you buy at Home Depot, just like the one pack that comes with like 2 spiral or mixing tips. The guns allow you to squeeze in one place and get an even pressure on both of the 2 tubes for the part A and part B. So you get a perfect mix, whereas like the self-mixing ones they sell at Home Depot and stuff, where you have to push on the plunger, you can push unevenly on it and not get as good of a mixture. So your dry times or curing time can be thrown off by it.
Right.
Just as a recommendation, if you are looking into it as an option.
No, that's a good point. I've only ever like hand mixed epoxy, but I imagine that the especially for that scale, the ratio would be really important. So yeah, the guns they look awesome. McMaster has like 6 different tips you can buy and all these things, but I was like, wow, these are like $60 to $100 a piece.
Yeah, the other bad thing about epoxy, Sonic Alchemy said in the chat, epoxies have pretty good need for ventilation when you're using it, especially in the quantity that you guys would be using.
Yeah.
The odors are probably going to be pretty bad from that.
Yeah, well, I'll be already losing it and then just completely. Yeah. I feel that I don't know who all is here. I mean, I'm jumping in sort of very last minute. I don't know who all is here and
yeah, let's do a
contacts.
Let's do our outro that we would normally do at 12.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. That way, especially Jen, first of all, thank you for jumping in. I definitely wanted to get somebody from We the Builders on because you guys have done so many of these projects and to the scale that you guys have done. I mean, it's really good having you guys in this discussion. So I want to thank you for jumping in. And as far as the outros go, since I'm not sure if you've watched the streams before or not, basically we're going to go down the line left to right on my screen. I'll just call each person out after the first intro is done or outro is done. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where people can follow you, where people can follow your project, where they can download parts for your project to print. And we'll go down the line here, we'll start with Daryl again.
Hey everyone, my name is Daryl Maloney. I have a YouTube channel called The Broken Nerd, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at The Broken Nerd 83. I mostly 3D model and 3D print props. Just have a few projects going in the next few weeks, so we'll have some more content coming out.
Next up, we actually have a newcomer who's gonna get to do his outro and his intro all at the same time. We got Josh from Design Make Teach. Go ahead, Josh.
Hey everybody, I just got the new studio up and running a little bit, so it's good to be back on air after a while. But you know, I had my part, and I just wanted to be on and say hi to Jen and Broken Nerd and like geek out of fanboy with all the Adam Savage collaborators on here tonight. This is a jam-packed group tonight.
Okay, next up we've got Jen.
Yeah. I'm Jen Schachter. I am just getting my social media presence all aligned and consistent. But you can follow me at Shack Attack. It's SCHAC _attack, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. And I'm working on the website. It's gonna launch pretty soon. So yeah, thanks all for knowing about the project and printing parts. And Josh, it's great to see you. And yeah, just thanks everyone. And I'm excited to hopefully meet some of you at the conference and at IRF. And yeah, thanks for having me join.
All right, next up we've got John.
All right, I'm John Stefano from You Do It. I don't do it, you do it. So I show you how to do it. Josh, I like your new studio. It's red. So I do a lot of 3D printing now, but I started out as a woodworker at a young age of probably 2. My dad introduced me to a bandsaw at age 5 and started making Christmas ornaments with Luan plywood and all that kind of good stuff. Let's see. Is the camera on me?
Yeah, it's on you. It just doesn't show it on your screen.
All right. So on my screen, let's see if I can switch to that here. You see my screen now? Yeah, cool. All right. So I'm in OBS. This is a table that I made for a local film production company. So I do a lot of stuff with LEDs, and they know I'm a maker in the area. I got a name for myself in the area, and so they asked me to make this table for them. And right away, I just had an idea for how I was going to do it, and this worked out pretty well. I was happy with the build. They were ecstatic with the build. And the other thing I did for my son's studio, I built him a music studio, and we have crown molding with recessed lights around it, and so he can set it to any color, and each one of those bulbs is a Philips bulb, and then he can have it all set up to his music and jam out while he's making music. So you can find me on Twitter, you_do_it, on Instagram, you.do.it, and my YouTube is You Do It Too, and I started streaming on Twitch, UDOIT2. That's it. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Walter.
Okay, I wasn't next. She was next, but you know, ladies first. You skipped her. My name's Walter. Got a little channel, Country 3D. My project was at Murph. I printed a printer that everybody thought was cool, so I'm going to do it again. But basically, I entertain a bunch of, well, I call them crazy folks because they come and chat with me pretty much every day. I'm learning how to do this streaming thing. What else do I do? But on Twitter, I'm Country 3D. Facebook, it's Country 3D. YouTube, it's Country 3D with a K, Kuntry. If you can't, kind of see it behind me over here. I got a green screen this morning, and a couple of my guys are like, "Hey, where's the stars?" So, anyway, that's me. Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, gonna be a long day. That TiVo little monster is gonna kick my butt. I know it is. I've never done a Delta, so we're gonna see how it goes.
All right, next up we've got Vicky.
Hi, greetings again, everyone. I'm Vicky Somma. I'm from Occoquan, Virginia, which is just south of Washington, D.C. So I'm not too far away from Jen and Todd and the We the Builders people. What do I do? I print on a Maker Gear M2, a Wanhale Duplicator i3, and then I bought myself a present. I got a new M3 independent dual with the tool extruders, so I'm having fun with that. And then I do most everything that I print, with the exception of rosy parts, is stuff that I've designed myself. I mainly work in Blender, and then I do OpenSCAD is probably the second most popular one. And every now and then I dabble in Tinkercad. Oh, and you can find me on Twitter at TGAW, and my YouTube station is TGAW3D, TGAW3D.
And you wrote a book too.
I did on Blender.
Show the book. I got the book here. I'll show.
Oh, where's the? It's out in the hallway over there.
I'll get mine.
Sorry, guys. I was typing the link back in the chat again.
That's the book. Yeah, we have an author in our presence. All hail the author.
Well, we also have a sculptor in our presence.
Yeah, yes, we do. A lot of talent. So anyway, here you go.
So, Josh, I know you've talked to We the Builders a lot and know a lot about what they're doing. Do you have any questions or anything to say about the community builds?
Well, I think the thing that I wonder about is sometimes we have these really great ideas, but Jen, how do you connect with the community? To me, some of the challenges, like when I helped plan the Construct 3D conference, and trying to find a diverse group of speakers to talk about 3D printing was challenging. The first year we didn't have a lot of people of color as presenters. Our male-female ratio was a little out of whack. So I'm wondering, even this group right here is a little bit male-dominated. So what are the strategies that we do to find and recruit a more diverse group in our 3D printing maker world?
I thank you. I love that you asked that question. That is the question that has been keeping me awake every night. Apart from how are we going to get all these parts printed? As some of you have seen, the video piece for this project. So in conjunction with the actual sculpture, we're hoping to get video testimonials from women and non-binary makers from a really truly diverse range of backgrounds. And the goal for that really is to change the narrative about Rosie the Riveter. So we're aware that in choosing her as a symbol, she appears to be a white cisgender woman, and that certainly doesn't represent all of today's makers. And so the choice of printing her in skin tones was for that reason, but that still doesn't address lots of other aspects of people's identities. So we really sort of set up this video piece to have people talk, and we have prompts of what things we want people to talk about in terms of redefining the narrative of who is the symbol of empowerment and stuff for today's makers. But that being said, as much as we want that to be the case, I don't want to say that the people aren't out there, because they absolutely are. The issue is always how do you reach the people that you want to represent, that should be represented? So one of the things, I mean, I think, and you've probably experienced this too, is like it's really just about being intentional. We tend to self-select people that are already in our circles and in our networks, and not reach people that are not already part of our community and our network that we already socialize with. So we've been trying to, like, just today, our team is putting together a list of like, how can we target different organizations and different individuals who are influencers to specific groups of people that we want to make sure that we reach. So we literally just are like making a list and figuring out, okay, who can we contact that will be able to reach populations of people in different maker disciplines or different identities that we're not already connected to. It's really just about being intentional about finding those connections and not allowing the community to continue to like, I guess, like self-select and remain sort of like the clique that already exists in whatever your community is. So it's something that we're trying really hard to do, and I don't know that we're there yet. The intention is certainly there, but you know, outcome is more important than intention. So if you all have any suggestions about different groups that we could reach out to, we're definitely working towards that. So I don't know if that quite answers your question, but that is the challenge.
Hey, can I speak on that for just a second? Because
sure, yeah.
my daughter just finished her first year at University of Florida, and two of her friends actually are in an all-female 3D printing club on the University of Florida, and they are testing the it's a certain type of prosthetic that they're testing, and this group is designing and building these prosthetics for free for it's a specific type of prosthetic, and I forgot what it was.
Is it Enable? The Enable group? Enable?
I'm not sure what the name of it was. I was talking to her and another one at the dance recital that my daughter had at UF, and she was excited to find somebody that was in the 3D printing community, because when they start back up in the spring semester or fall semester, whatever they're going into, I can't keep up. Yeah, the fall semester. They want to see about, you know, contacting some filament companies to help them out, because they're doing all this out of pocket. The university doesn't even have any funds for this. It's completely separate from the university, but it's like 25 or 30 young ladies that are in this 3D printing group. And I'm going to go down there during that time and try to help them out, and you know, maybe give them some pointers on where to go, contact some people like Filamentum or somebody like that would get behind a project like that. But they are coming. The 3D printing community that we have now is young, very young. I mean, the affordable printers that we have now are young, and these young people are finding these affordable printers, and it's getting them interested, and the females are there. I don't think they know where the outlets are as much as the younger guys do, I guess. I don't know how to word that correctly, but I think that's the problem, is they were having more trouble finding information about where these groups are. So like Enable, I don't know what that is, me personally. So that's a good sign though for the future. Maybe not right this minute, but coming. It's coming.
That sounds awesome, and I hope you'll share the project with them, and we would love to hear from them about their opinion about their position in the 3D printing world, and what Rosie the Riveter should be as a symbol. That I think that video piece, and really hearing from the audience who is participating in the project is to me just as important as the actual sculpture itself. And I know we're all here to talk about 3D printing, but that part is, I guess, we're trying to gain traction there. So I think that part of the key to really making things more diverse is about representation, and people being able to see themselves pictured and represented, and feeling like they belong because there's other people that look like them and share their experience. So yeah, we would love to have, so you said it's a large group of people. We'd love to have them participate, both to print parts, but also to share their stories. So it would be great if you shared that with them.
Well, the problem is right now that school just got out, so they're not even together right now. It's only during the school year or it's the semesters.
Okay.
So
Right.
they just got out. My daughter just got home today, and I have 4 girls myself. So, you know, the little one, Destiny's been on my channel a couple times. She's more involved than the rest of them because she's the only one I have left at home. But I try to get them involved in stuff like this too, because it is lacking. Women, there's a lack of female representation in a lot of the STEM fields, but there are a lot of strong voices in the STEM fields for women, like you.
Josh, I would pose the question back to you also, because I feel like you do such a good job of this, and you know what I've read and talked to you about your work, and I think we're all kind of trying to figure this out. But what do you like? What ways have you found to sort of bring more people in?
Well, I you know, when I talk to like maker educators, a lot of times there are people who are out there making things and are really involved, but the social media part and the YouTube part and actually telling their story to the world is not really something that they're all that interested in. And so, you know, I've been to some of these conferences and there'll be poster sessions and someone's like just doing fantastic. Like you're like, wow, I can't believe that you're doing this awesome architecture project where you're like 3D printing all of these things and doing that. But I'm like, do you have a website? Do you have have Twitter? Do you have YouTube? And they're like, nope, and just not really seem that interested. They're, you know, I've hit lots of cases where it's like, I have my students, and that's kind of what I'm interested in working with. Kind of on the big conference side, like some of the things that I think we laid down on when we set up the Construct 3D conference was where we were at. We had it at Duke University, and there's a lot of historically Black colleges in that area that had engineering departments and that were working with ShopBot, and you know, I felt like we didn't take advantage of those opportunities to reach out to some of those universities and engineering programs and say, hey, come over here and present the work that you're doing at the conference and stuff. And you know, I think sometimes the other part of it is that you know, disadvantaged communities and things like that, they don't necessarily have the travel budget. So like these conferences and the state and national stuff just isn't as much on the radar. I saw that in Texas, right? There's this big difference between you know, urban Texas and like rural Texas, and it's just getting to a conference that was 200 miles away was like a big deal to go to a state conference. So, you know, sometimes there's people out there that are doing really great stuff, but it's harder to get them to the events and be visible, like kind of we're used to at NomCon and stuff like that.
I think a lot of that goes saying about, you know, there's a lot of people out there who don't have Twitter, don't have Facebook, but I think there's a lot of people who aren't showing what they do. Like Josh said, you see them at certain events and you're like, where have you been? Why have I not seen you on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook? Because that's where we've kind of developed a community online to show off what we do, to see what others are doing. But I have a series for my channel that I've had on kind of the back burner for a while, where like my grandfather, he's been a maker all his life, but he wouldn't classify himself as a maker. He doesn't really know that there is the maker movement, or that's what he is. He's a maker by what we all classify as a maker. And a lot of people who are making things are doing things STEM related and don't even know it because they're not necessarily in the communities and stuff. And I think one of the best things that we can do is I've been trying to get in with my local library just to have a 3D printing community information day, so to speak, to go talk to my local public about 3D printing and find out what other people in the area are doing 3D printing or interested in it, and be able to kind of expand the local community and tell them about the outlets like Twitter and the community. I mean, Twitter's got one of the greatest maker communities that I've seen. I mean, even above and beyond what YouTube has on it, Twitter has these niche communities that are just awesome. And the whole maker community on Twitter is just great. I think that's one of the best things we can do, is kind of exposing some people to the proper social media platforms to be able to interact with other people who are doing similar things or just interested in the things they're doing. Would help bringing diversity to the community as well, like you guys have said, and we've talked about it before in the streams about most of the maker community that you see online is primarily male, primarily white males. And you see every now and then, like you get somebody like Vicky or like Jen who do extraordinary things. I mean, like Vicky's project for Nova this year with just recyclables and her Daisy lamp that she made. I mean, you'd hear people walking in the room at Nova and seeing that lamp from across the room going, what's that? Like that kind of stuff, that kind of exposure. We get lucky enough to meet and interact with a few female makers in the community. I think that's one of the best things we can do, is when we're meeting somebody, just pointing them in the direction of, here's this Twitter community, follow me, see who I interact with, and you're welcome to this community. That's kind of where this whole Friday night 3D printing stream came from. Jen, I'm not sure if you've seen the streams in the past or not, but that's what this whole platform's for, is just welcoming basically anybody into this community and giving them a place.
This is awesome. I'm embarrassed to say that I have had a Twitter for a while, but I'm more of an Instagrammer, just because I have a fine art background, so I'm a visual person. I do all my stuff. I publish stuff through there because it's images. But I'm realizing like what this huge untapped community is in Twitter, and I'm like, wow, I need to pay attention and start using this. But no, this is great.
Hey Daryl, do you want to jump in? Like the cosplay community is really big, really diverse, but like we only see a small fraction of that cosplay community here in the maker world.
Yeah, so just touching points in terms of diversity, and I'm speaking from where I'm from and where I grew up at, and the experiences I've had, even going to work and talking about the things that I do, individuals don't even comprehend what 3D printing is. So there is this whole a lot of people don't know what it is, and it's hard to explain to them. And when you sit down and explain to them what it is, they still don't understand. So it takes me showing them videos of other individuals doing things. And still at that point, they still don't understand the concept of 3D printing. So just being able to educate people on what it is, and knowing that these tools are readily available, because a lot of people don't even know. Especially in the community that I'm in, they don't know that this even exists. And 3D printing is still fairly new to me. I started 3D printing this time last year. I just found out about it, and just decided to do the YouTube page and started putting content out there. And now my focus is gonna try and shift this year, because I have 2 young boys and I want them to kind of learn this stuff. So my focus, I work for a church, so my focus is starting there, taking the kids and teaching them about 3D printing, letting them know that this technology exists, because a lot of them don't even know. So that's going to be kind of my focus, and then kind of shifting to that, to kind of teaching the younger generation that this technology is there and how it can help them, provide them, because we can breed young engineers, and through the fun stuff that I do, kind of reel them in with that. And then, sky's the limits after that.
crap, I just forgot what I was going to ask. Vicky, when down at Nova, the people that you got to interact with as far as your upcycling project for this year, what kind of questions did you get from people who didn't really know much about 3D printing, that saw your stuff, had no idea that it was 3D printed? What kind of reaction did you get from them as you explained to them how you made things? Did you get a lot of people that came to you and said, oh, you know, I have a 3D printer at home, but I never even imagined doing something like this with it? Or was it more of what is 3D printing and explaining? I know you run your printer at your display.
Mm-hmm.
What was the main focus of interest that people had with your display this year?
Goodness, I'm trying to think. I don't think I did a lot of explaining this year of what 3D printing is. But you know, I did have the printer running there. A lot of times I try to describe it as a glue gun, you know, because that's something that's not very intimidating, particularly to women crafters. That's, you know, like something they're very familiar with. And this is just another crafting tool. I would say I seem to get, you know, more questions on the actual project itself, particularly like the Tic Tac containers that people, you know, like wanted to start making planters out of their Tic Tac containers, and asking about where they could get that. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of dialogue on the materials itself, not the 3D printed materials, but, you know, like the K-cups that I used for the daisies, you know, so, you know, because I brought those other elements in, there's a lot of discussion on that. I did have an interesting conversation. A father pulled me aside and he told me to keep doing what I'm doing, and that for some young ladies like this, you know, like I'm the only person that they're going to be seeing do that. And that it did choke me up a little bit. It did bring me tears a little bit to, you know, in my eyes. I mean, that was quite meaningful to hear, because, you know, there's so many 3D printer people out there, you know, and there's so many people way, way, way more talented than me. And it's, you know, I'm just trying to be visible, and it was, you know, nice to see that effort was appreciated.
Cool.
But to roundabout, I don't know if I exactly answered your question, but yeah, I don't think
actually you did. Sorry, go ahead.
In our area, a lot of the schools already have some 3D printers, and you know, thanks to phenomenal educators like Josh, and so, you know, I do have a lot of kids that are like, I have a 3D printer in my school, you know, and yeah, so it might be the community I'm in the Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah, I know from going down to Nova, I know there's a lot of technology accessible to kids. You guys have a lot of maker spaces in the area down there around DC. So with your projects, you kind of did answer my question in the respect that, like, the 3D printing part of the project sort of just transformed into just being a small piece of that project. Whereas, like, if you brought what you did, somewhere more like Earth in that area, like up my way, up towards York, Pennsylvania, Bel Air area, you probably would see more people. I'm thinking probably more people interested in the 3D printing aspect, because it's not as prevalent up here as it is down around DC and stuff. So that really did kind of answer my question, where people were drawn with the conversation. It wasn't so much about 3D printing this year for you.
Yeah. And, you know, I would say I went to the Printed Solid grand opening a couple of years ago. And there, you know, because the people are focused on 3D printing, there was a lot of dialogue on my actual techniques, on, you know, like when I'm pausing prints and how I'm embedding things and what kind of clearances I'm using in my models and stuff like that. So, you know, I would expect that we would have very similar dialogues at IRF. Looking forward to that.
Right. Does anybody have any other questions for Jen? Or Jen, is there anything else that you want to share about the project? I know you kind of jumped in here sort of unexpectedly, and again, I greatly appreciate your participation tonight in the stream. I don't want to hold you too long if you have other things to get to as well.
No, I think that was it. Mostly just just the promotion to get people involved in printing parts, and the video piece is really important to me too. So if you have you know, people in your network that you think would have an interesting perspective or would like to share their voice, encourage them to just, it can be short, just like a little straight to camera thing, sharing your thoughts about the project. There are prompts on the website for things we're hoping to ask, and we're working on getting like a media wall to sort of aggregate those from across social media. So we're hoping that can be a powerful piece for the project too. But yeah, other than that, I think that's it. I'm glad to have found you guys. I like happened to look at my phone and get some notifications from Twitter, and I was like, oh, what is this? I should join this.
Cool.
So I appreciate you inviting me, and yeah, I probably will have. I have a shop safety class to teach first thing in the morning. Like, I guess I should probably get to bed pretty soon. I don't know how much longer y'all are continuing, but this has been great.
Yeah, I mean, we typically we try to get the conversation in within the first 2 hours, and some nights we'll go 2 or 3 hours over that, but we always try to get the conversation in before midnight. So we are about 20 minutes away from. So is there any other last minute questions from the chat, from the panel of co-hosts for Jen?
Yeah, absolutely. For both Jen and Daryl, the collaborations with Adam Savage, like most of us are like solo artists, right? So we're on our own in our own basement shops, like doing our thing. So did you learn anything about making in that kind of collaboration with a partner, kind of with the professional?
Daryl, you can go first.
I don't know, ladies first.
All right. Wow. In working with Adam, Daryl, I don't know if you've had the same experience. He's a hard person to get a hold of when you're planning the project. But once you're there working together, he's like super present and honed in, and you have like his full attention. It's just it can sometimes be difficult as a collaborator to like want feedback, or like in the past we've like shared sketches back and forth, and you know, I kind of like, I'm really hands-on and want to be doing things, but he's such a busy guy. But then once we're there, it's like he's all in and super intense and like amazing to work with. I think in general, for not just specifically with working with Adam, but in general for me, the type of work I prefer to do is collaborative stuff. I have a background in fine art, and I sort of found myself really jaded with the like practice of being alone in your studio just working, and I still really enjoy that, but I think the work that I make now, I don't really create things for people to just look at anymore. The things I make are more for people to touch and interact with and change in some way. So yeah, having an opportunity to collaborate with Adam, I mean, it's sort of like, you're a little bit, at least for me, I'm still a little bit starstruck every time I do. So it's hard to kind of like get in the zone for a little while, because you're just like, oh my gosh, this is who I'm working with right now. But once you get past that, it just, it sort of, your brains just sort of like lock into gear, and you're on it. Yeah, I don't know. Daryl, do you want to share some thoughts? I wonder how similar of an experience you've had.
It's very similar. When I got there, I was working with Adam for a week, and it took me about 3 days to actually get comfortable with navigating his shop. So Adam is really open and willing to share knowledge and share what he has in his shop. So it's kind of, when I got there, it was weird, because it was almost like an expectancy, just, hey, go grab whatever you need. And I'm just like, me working alone and not having, I didn't know what to not touch and touch. But he was super open, shared, and he loved sharing stories. So it was always the funnest to hear his stories and behind certain props that he has in his shop, certain tools. I mean, even down to some of the tools that he has a story behind it. And it was wonderful to hear. And again, like Jen, the experience was still surreal. Like I don't think it's still even hit me yet to this day that I got the chance to work with him for a week, and he's super open, super nice. everything that you see, every bit that you see on television or on Tested is what you get in real life. And I had difficulty keeping up with him. I mean, he just moves from one thing to the next, and when I would look up, it would be done. So I was like, okay, I got to step my game up.
Yeah, no, he is that's a good point. He is a really fantastic storyteller, and you're kind of like in the thick of it, making the thing, and he's got all these like war stories of different things. He's like, oh, this reminds me of this one time with Jamie that I did this thing, or there was something else he just said that reminded me of something. Yeah, he's also like, I think the first project that I got to work with him on, like, it was another like insane, like we had a really short deadline, and the thing we were building was going to be on the White House South Lawn for like this last like festival of the Obama administration. So like no pressure. The stakes were really high, and I was like completely terrified and starstruck. And we met at the U-Haul where we were going to like pick up the truck to move the pieces, and we worked this like insane, I think like 13 or 14-hour day, and at no point did he, and there's like 50 kids around, and there's like, you know, local media and newspapers and people trying to interview us, and we're mic'd with the camera people. It was just like insanity. And there was no point when he like stopped to take a break or like went to a trailer or something. Like he like stayed the entire time, like ate pizza standing up with everybody else. Like he's just like a very real person. So I as much as I was starstruck, it was really refreshing to just be like, oh, you're just like a human, and you're a really awesome maker. So yeah, it was a really cool experience.
I totally agree. He's totally down to earth. Yeah, I had so much fun, and again, he super nice. Can't say anything opposite.
And he's gotten a lot more into 3D printing just in the last year, right? It's been relatively recently for Adam to add 3D printing to his tool set. Yeah,
I believe the project that we did, he stated, was the most 3D printed parts he ever done in a in one project. I'm just not sure, and that you know what, that was the one question that I did not ask him, like how much has he been into it. And maybe it was because I was so into everything that we were doing. But from my knowledge, I don't think it's I think it's still relatively new to him.
I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say, I think that Sean Charlesworth, that's also on the Tested team, I think he's sort of like their 3D printing. I know Norm does a lot of it too, but I think Sean's like big into 3D printing from the Tested team. So that might be like their sort of big representation in that realm.
Yep. Yeah, we had Sean as one of the featured presenters at the Construct 3D conference last year, and he just hung out in the bar with us, and like he would be pulling 3D models out of his pocket, like, you know. So he was just really awesome and approachable too. So.
While we're on the topic, this question I guess is for Daryl and Jen both. While we're on the topic of Adam Savage and you guys' experience with him, Chris from Practical Printing asked, with all of Adam's stories, how do you find time to actually do making with Adam? I guess that might be a little bit more towards Daryl, but if you guys both want to answer that one.
It was interesting because we would be in the middle of something, building something. So for the project that we did in particular, Adam did a lot of the fabrication of the soft parts for the costume. So I was really concentrated on cleaning up the 3D parts. And so I would ask for a tool, and he would come by and say, hey, you know, there's a story behind this tool. And so we would talk about it. And while he's actually telling the story, he's still working. So it's not a thing where he's stopping just to tell the story. He's still working and you're engrossed, like I'm stopping what I'm doing. And I know I'm supposed to be getting what I'm getting done, but he's like gone. And then by the time I look up again, he's done. Like he turned the lightsaber within like an hour, made a belt buckle within like 30 minutes and out of one piece of steel. I mean, and it was surreal to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be why 3D printing hasn't been a big part of Adam's workflow, is because he can just probably just turn something out on Adam metal or wood like a lot quicker.
Okay, there was a question a little ways back here. Let me scroll back up to it. This one was for Jen. In regards to the community builds, is the focus of sharing and printing only for domestic in the United States, or also open to international?
It's totally open to international. The only concern, I guess, would be getting it to New Mexico in time. So our deadline for shipping parts is May 20th, with the hope that we're going to have pieces there within the week following that to give us enough buffer. I mean, if you think you can get the piece there in time, totally go for it. I connected with a couple of friends in Saudi Arabia and in Egypt who I met through a program this summer, and they are aware that the part's not going to get through customs and stuff in time, so they're actually going to print it through 3D hubs, I think. So they're going to download their part and then send it to us that way, have them mail it to New Mexico. So I'm gonna work with them on that. There will be a little bit of work on the back end just to make sure the part gets checked in appropriately, because they won't have the picture to show us. But I think if you want to participate internationally, that would be amazing. And you can definitely absolutely participate in the video piece, because obviously you can do that from anywhere. But yeah, if you want to, please do. The wider reach that we have, I think the cooler the project is.
Cool. All right, so since we are coming up on the 2-hour mark, we did do our outros at about a half hour ago. So unless you guys want to do those again, I'll just kind of forgo that and just do a real quick wrap up on the topics, the topic for tonight. So we have Jen from We the Builders. There will be links down in the description below to We the Builders and the We the Rosies hashtag for the Rosie the Builder that they're doing for NomCon, and hopefully maybe somehow we can work it into coming to Earth. So I think almost everybody on the panel tonight's going to actually be at Earth, so that we can all maybe get to see that. As Jen said, the biggest problem with getting Rosie to Earth is going to be freight and getting it shipped somewhere to get it to Earth. So I'm going to talk to her and after the stream or later this weekend. Maybe I'll send you a message, Jen, about maybe seeing if there's any way we can make that work. Maybe get the community to put together a fund to get it to Earth, if possible. But I really want to thank Jen for coming on and answering all the questions about the We the Rosie project and all the other projects that We the Builders have done in the past. And I also want to thank Nick. He had to drop off and unfortunately couldn't do an outro. Nick is the former co-owner of MakerBox, the monthly MakerBox subscription. They did last year for New York Maker Faire, did a 3-foot Maker coin. Their project was a bit smaller than what We the Builders has done in the past and is working on currently. Theirs was just an XY platform for their model, as opposed to a full 3D platform where We the Builders is doing X, Y, and Z pieces. So I had Nick on to talk about some of the issues and process that they went through with MakerBox to make their coin. And Jen, it actually sounds like you guys followed a lot of the same processes that they did, just on a much bigger scale with yours, with the exception of you guys going from a sculpture to 3D scan to a printed model. But again, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to thank all the co-hosts for coming on, asking questions, and joining into the discussion. Daryl, welcome to the Friday night streams. Hopefully we'll get to see you back more. And I know I can personally say I'm looking forward to more videos from you as well. Links for everybody will be down in the description below, probably tomorrow morning at this point.
Including the Builders.
Yes, including We the Builders. That should, We the Builders, MakerBox, they should already be in the description. If you're not seeing them, try refreshing. If not, after the stream, I'll look into why they're not showing up yet.
I want to talk something too when you get done.
Go for it, John.
All right. So at Murph, I presented a. Are you seeing my screen now? So I presented a banner. It was a 2.5 foot by 8 foot banner highlighting the community, those who contribute. So I would like Josh for you to submit yours, because I don't think you're on this banner, because I'm working on banner number 2. Jen, I would like you to submit yours also. So I need you to, so just follow me on Twitter. Josh, you already follow me. Jen, follow me on Twitter, and then DM me your channel art or whatever, your yellow, I think it's your yellow and black logo.
Yep.
And a headshot, so I can do for you what I did for everybody here. And I'll get you on the second banner. To everybody else, if you're not on this banner, if you're not on this banner and you want to be on banner number 2, send me your headshot and channel art. DM me on Twitter. Chances are I'm already following you on Twitter, because I try to follow as many makers and 3D printers to widen the community. So that's it.
One last thing as far as the streams go, the next Friday night 3D Printing Community Hangout stream will be on May the 18th at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. As over here in the U.S., we're on daylight saving. So the host for that channel has yet to be determined, but hopefully we'll announce that no later than Monday, May 14th. So keep an eye on the Twitter account for Friday night 3D Printing Community Hangout, and we'll have it up there as soon as we know who's going to be hosting and what the topic's going to be for 2 weeks from now. All right. Did you guys want to do outros again, or go ahead and skip that? I see Vicky shaking her head no.
Yeah, I don't think we need to. I think we did it earlier. That brought everybody in.
I do need Josh, Daryl, any social media links or any information you guys want down in the description. Jen, you as well. If you guys can DM that to me on Twitter, I'll make sure to get whatever you guys want down in the description. Everybody else, I think I already have your information on the Facebook group. So just go, if you can, double check, make sure that's up to date. Otherwise, I'll just put what's there.
Will do. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you again, Jen. I really do appreciate you getting to jump in and answer all our questions. It's great having you on as a representative of We the Builders tonight.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, glad I could make it. Next time I'll be on video, because I'll be prepared and not like bundled up in my cave.
Cool. We can get updates on Rosie from you.
Yeah. I'll try to be more active on Twitter, because I am very much not a Twitter user, but I will. I'll try to get on that, because it seems to be where the conversations are happening. So, but yeah, thanks again, and I'll see y'all next time.
Okay. Jen, are you on Facebook as well?
I am. Yeah. I sort of just got all my social media aligned. So Facebook is Jen Schachter, Instagram and Twitter are Shack Attack,
Okay.
and the website, I've been working every minute I'm not on this project on the website. So that'll have like all my work up and links to different media and things like that. But that'll just be jenschachter.com. But I'll send you all that in the DM and get connected with everybody here.
All right. I'll send you a link to through the DM that you and I have going from tonight to the Friday Night 3D Printing Community Hangout, the public group, and I'll send you a link to the streamers group as well, which is the private group. That's where, and for everybody else on the stream, anybody who wants to be on the stream, that's where the streamers group is a private group on Facebook. We do ask like what your social involvement is in the community, sort of as a way to vet people, so we have an idea who we're letting into the streams. But on Facebook, if you search for F3D PCH-public, it'll get you the public account where we post who's hosting and the YouTube link, and you guys can ask questions ahead of time on there. We'll try to answer any of those questions during the stream for that discussion. If you want to be on the stream, look on Google, Facebook for the F3D PCH-streamers account or group. That's the back end. That's where we post the link here for the Hangout to be able to get on stream, who's hosting and what the topics are and who plans on attending those streams. So, Jen, I'll send you the links for those just to make it a little bit easier for you. If you want to, that way in the future, if you want to jump on a stream, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Same for Daryl and Josh. I'll send you guys the links too for those.
And if you see weird name on Facebook, it's me. It's I'll show you my screen. So this is me, Rigor Anafetsid. So it's my middle name backwards and my last name backwards. Just to throw everybody off. But now it throws everybody off so bad that they're like, okay, what? Who's this weird guy and why is he friend requesting me? So now you know that's me.
All right. It's the 12 o'clock hour, so whatever you guys want to talk about, it's fair game. If there's any more questions for Jen, we can go back to that if Jen has time. I know you said you do have some stuff going on in the morning, so if anybody needs to cut out, that's fine as well. We'll keep going as long as the co-hosts want to go and the chat wants us to keep going.
This right here took me 7 to 8 hours to print. I'm printing another one right now.
Awesome.
I want to see how many I can do, but let's assume that I can only get one and a half in a day. And I think 1.5 might be realistic because, you start one, it takes overnight. You can start the next one, and then depending upon real life, how it gets in the way. But you want this in what, 3 weeks? You need the parts by?
At this point, a little bit less. We're hoping the parts will ship by May 20th. We'll see how
meaning they ship from our house.
Yes.
And then you would receive them by the first week of June or something.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll see what we can do.
So at best, I could do 21 parts if I have enough filament. And worst, I can do 14 parts. So I think we really need to push this out, guys. We need to say, look, we really need help because I'm a project manager, and I can see right now that this is screaming like a long pole in the tent.
Yeah, we're trying. There's like so many behind the scenes. There's so many other things in terms of like the project and organizing stuff for the conference that we're trying to push out on every channel. But there's only so many things we can do at once. So absolutely, like if we can like activate every spoke on the wheel and every one of those spokes reaches their networks, that we can have a much bigger impact. But I keep looking at the part number and being like, oh no, we only have another 10 this hour. What are we gonna do? So get it out there as much as you can.
So we all know Barnacles, Joel Telling, Angus. We'll get them to help spread the word. Also, they have a much wider reach on social media than a lot of us, and they can definitely help promote this and get some assistance. So I'll craft up a message to them.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. And feel free to grab any of the wording and stuff from the website to write into email blurbs. That's my project this weekend, is to reach that big list we crafted of all the influencers, write up email blurbs and just blast out emails. But yeah, if you all can help with that, it would be greatly appreciated.
Sure.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Someone else was going to go. Go ahead.
Just a logistics question. Who do you like to ship 3D printed parts through that they arrive at the other end on time and give you a tracking number?
I don't actually know. I'm not sure what the one that we receive the most from is. I could jump into the parts admin page real quick and take a look because that'll have shipping numbers. I don't know that we have a preferred. Todd could probably answer that question, because he does a lot of, through his business, he sends a lot of stuff. So he probably has a preferred shipping company. That's a good question. I probably have to get back to you on that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Does anyone have any thoughts about what's the most reliable, quickest, cheapest shipping?
Cheapest? I wouldn't go cheapest.
Well, you know, a good cross section of fast, reliable, and cheap.
Yeah.
I know I've used the postal service, just the U.S. Post Office.
Yeah, my Etsy stuff, I use the postal service, and you get a free tracking number with it. I haven't had any problem.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Something about the size of the pieces, like John's piece for the Rosie project. You're talking like $6, $7 to ship, and you might even be able to squeeze 2 of them in a box like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a box like sneakers, I think ends up costing like $12 a ship.
Yeah, I think that's about the cheapest way, because like UPS and FedEx, unless you have like a commercial account with them, usually it's a little bit more expensive to ship out of. Just package them up really well.
So, Jen, another question. I don't know if anybody asked this. Are you going to do like a time-lapse build? Time-lapse video of the build?
Yeah, I will definitely have a camera crew there. So I don't know how much I can say publicly, but it will be documented and published in one way or another.
Yeah,
I imagine someone will be there with a GoPro or something set up for time lapse. But there'll be professional documentation happening during the build. So
yeah, neat.
Just checking the chat to see if there was any more questions. It doesn't look like.
Sure. I do have to sorry, I do have to run shortly because I have to teach like saws and wood shop at a very unfortunate hour of the morning tomorrow. So I probably have to dip out very soon unless anyone else has had anything specific.
No.
Any last minute questions for Jen? All right. Well, have fun teaching your class, Jen. Thank you very much again for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much. I hope to see you all next time. This was great.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Nice to meet everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Take care.
See ya. Well, cool. I'm glad she got to join in. Josh, I'm not sure if you kind of helped point her in the direction of coming in, but I know it sounded like you knew Jen and everything before the stream, so appreciate getting her kind of included in it.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of connected at Maker Faire just a little bit, but I'm starting up as a makerspace instructional facilitator at a big STEM high school next year as a full-time position. And so Jen's doing some super awesome like safety manual sort of stuff. So I'm like trying to steal all her information and things. And then there's a big crossover between my Zero Things kind of 3D printing project and the areas that she's interested in. So
cool. Robbie Mack in the chat doesn't want the stream to end without a link to support getting Rosie to Earth.
Oh yeah.
So talking about big collaborative projects in Murph and Earth, like did any of you participate in the RC car project? And like, is that going to come to Earth or
They're doing the slot cars. Not slot cars.
We're doing a 3D printed Pinewood Derby like the Boy Scouts do. So I didn't do the open RC cars.
Oh yeah, anyhow. So we've got Vicky here. Vicky, do you want to give everybody an update on the happenings with Earth at this point?
Oh my goodness, we have like new sponsors every day. So, if you haven't signed up for the mailing list, you want to sign up for that so you could get updated earlier than it hits social media. Nick Angers is actually working on coordinating the speaker stage. And you know what? If anybody out there or any of the co-hosts are interested in speaking at Earth, let us know. We have some slots and we'd love to include you. And yeah, I guess I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do a table and try to help with the event. So I might leave my work at home and, just help with ticket sales and checking people in.
I know I'm going there. I'm a sponsor, so I'm going there on Friday night. I'm helping Chris set up, I know, for the event. Then I know I'm doing the recording of the sessions.
I heard a rumor that you would be doing that.
Yeah, because I've been recording a couple of concerts for my friends who do events in Wildwood, and so I'm kind of getting the hang of that. So I got a digital recorder, so we'll hook that up to their sound panel. I'm hoping that Nick, I think, knows the sound guy.
Yeah, he's got some information on that, and I think he was going to look into something.
Yeah, and then I can set up my GoPro, and I can set up my my Panasonic. There's 2 camera sources, and capture the session. So I'm pretty good there, and I can record like 8.5 hours straight without stopping.
Nice.
That's it.
Hey, John, if they let me speak at Earth, then you can just record me and you'll be out of room.
Well, so I can be I'm here or I'm not here.
Yeah, you're never here, man. You're never here.
So the deal is, Walter streams during the day, but I can't watch because I'm working. But I'll bring up his stream just to help him out with his watch time, and I always type INH, which means I'm not here. So he knows I'm there, but I'm not.
Yeah, I was talking with Chris from, I guess he's on the Earth team, and I was not going to bring any of my printers to Earth. And he's like, oh no, because I really don't want to set up a table. I missed a lot at Murph by always being at my table, and I didn't get to speak or see half of the stuff that was going on. I missed the entire Open RC race. I didn't even know what was going on because I was at my table talking to folks about the printers. And he was like, no, we'll find a table for you to put it on. We'll put it with somebody that can watch it or something, So I guess I'm going to bring that if I can't get the Core XY, the Hypercube Evo done, because I really want to do that. I'm looking at somebody's donating a 328 by 328 bed for it. So it's going to be a pretty large, Hypercube. So hopefully if I can get it done. Filamentum just approved the filament today. So I guess they have to ship that from France. I don't know how long that takes unless they get Filament 1 to send it from here in the U.S. So I'm hoping, but we will be there. Me, my wife, my daughter, and my daughter's bringing a friend. So we're all going to be there with bells on.
Are you guys doing any derby cars?
Maybe. I'm not a designer at all by any stretch of the imagination, but if somebody wants to donate a basic design or something that I can use,
there are some on Thingiverse.
Okay, because I may go out and put it into to Mesh Mixer or something and push some pixels around and say, okay, now that's mine.
I know my brother and his kids are working on a derby car design to take down to Earth. We're making this whole thing a family event.
Yeah, I have some requests from my boys on their derby cars. My youngest is very modest, humble. He's just he wants a green car with his name on it. That's easy peasy. And then my oldest, he loves the video game Halo, and he wants one of those Warthog Jeeps. So he has high ambitions. But it looks like Thingiverse might have my back on that. Someone has all the accessories already designed for a real Pinewood derby car. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Josh, you asked about the Open RC project. I don't think any of us on stream had a car at Murph, but I know John and I both were shooting video during the race. I think John has some video up on his recap.
I didn't edit mine yet. I have to edit that first.
Mine's stuff's still sitting in a folder. I haven't had a chance to edit anything from Murph.
Yeah, I edited everything up to the race, and then Barnacle and Chuck's Spool Racer. I did print the parts. Didn't you print parts too for the car? I just never built it. I got all the parts for it except for the electronics and just never put it together.
I haven't done anything with OpenRC project as much as I would absolutely love to. It's another hobby that I really just don't need to get involved in.
Well, the electronics, I think, were upwards 250 or more.
Yeah, it was like 250 to get an initial setup if you don't, I guess, starting from nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just another hobby I don't need to sink any time into.
Yeah, I'm spending my money on getting this banner set up.
Yeah, Chris Riley did an open RC car the other day. I don't know if y'all saw his video, but he had stuff from his RC days back in the 90s. And it was like the super big battery and all the servos and everything were massively sized, and they barely fit in his car. Couldn't even put the lid on his car. It was really cool. His video was really good.
I do have the OpenRC projects kind of inspired me a little bit. I've been working on this, which I don't know where any of my 7.2 batteries are.
Is that 18650s?
Four 18650s, 2 sets in parallel. Two in series, 2 sets in parallel. And they are to drive. Hang on. Gotta get it from overhead. For this.
Hey, that looks like a truck from around here.
Yeah. That's actually one of the ones Radio Shack used to sell years ago. Just a standard, like one of their more expensive in-house remote control trucks. But I modeled this up to hold 18650 lithium ion batteries, which the 7.2 volt NiCad batteries that originally came with that thing, when they were new, gave me like 10 minutes of runtime. These, so far, I've run 45 minutes on one set of batteries, and still, when I put them on the charger, they were registering over 75% full.
So those 2,500 milliamps each, or 3,000, or give or take?
Yeah, 2,600 milliamp hours each. So in series, double it.
5,200.
5,200. Thank you. I'm blanking out. It's late.
and they told me vaping was useless.
There you go. But yeah, so I'm converting that, making sure I can safely run it on lithium ion. I mean, I'm running basically within half a volt of what the 7.2 batteries were. If I can convert that, then I'm gonna tear the whole thing down. I'm gonna print a whole new chassis for it, make a low profile car. As fast as this truck goes now, I mean, if you corner with it, it'll roll over. It's pretty fast to begin with. The lithium ion batteries put a little bit of a boost in the speed. And if everything works and I don't burn anything up, then I'm going to tear the whole thing apart and 3D print a complete chassis for it and kind of do my own rendition of the OpenRC project.
I did want to touch on something Daryl touched on earlier, because we went out to eat tonight. I took my daughter out for completing her first year at the University of Florida. So we went out to eat, and a friend of mine showed up, and I was telling him about the 3D printing that I'm doing, and he had no idea. But Vicky used an analogy that I use all the time to tell people, and I'm like, it's just like a hot glue gun, except you're pushing plastic through it, and it's got a program that runs it. And he was like, oh, is that how that works? I'm like, yeah. And then I started showing him pictures, and I did the Winnie the Pooh, and it's on my Facebook page. You can see it. And I mean, it turned out perfect. It was a perfect print. I've never had anything that printed that perfectly, but it was a perfect print. And he was like, can I? And I mean, it was just instant questions of what he could do. But around here, nobody knows what 3D printing is. You know, I live in rural America, I will say, and nobody knows what it is. Absolutely nobody. I write software for a living, so I've been following 3D printing for a while. But if you hear, and not everybody, because some people are in academia and they're in that type of field, but for most consumers like myself, printing only got affordable a year and a half or so ago. it's a baby as a consumer thing. You know, this is brand new for everybody, because until printers got below, you know, $500, $400, $300, a lot of people didn't want to buy a 3D printer. It's like me. I looked at them when they were $500 and $600. And I'm like, that is so stinking cool, but can I justify what I'm going to do with it? But when it dropped down to, you know, $200, I'm like, I can spare $200 to try this out. And then it just balloons, because, you know, you see what you can do and what it's gotten to. So I wanted to touch on that earlier, because Daryl was saying he'd only been doing it for a year. You know, Adam Savage has only been doing it for, you know, a short amount of time. And you know, he probably makes a lot more money than I do. So it's just one of those things that it's in its infancy. And I'm very excited to see where it can go. I go back and I look at the history, especially of the i3 style and the FDM printing, and I see the progress that's been made in a short amount of time, relatively speaking. And it's amazing to me. And now it's just hand over fist, the innovations that are coming along in printing and the quality difference from just, you know, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. So sorry, interjecting.
Does anybody have anything else to talk about tonight? If not,
I'm just typing up. I am typing up a thingy in the 3D printing group. It's basically what I just posted on my Facebook page, but now I'm expanding, and I'm like, hey, we need your help.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
About the We the Rosies thing, and hey, we only printed, what was the number, 600 so far claimed?
It was like 632 or something.
Yeah, something like that. And it was like 632 of them claimed, not necessarily printed yet.
637 now.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a live counter somewhere?
Yeah, if you just go to the WeTheBuilders.com.
Okay, good. That's all.
And real quick, I'll post one last time in the chat. That's the direct link to the We the Rosies to be able to download parts. Right at the very top, it should give you an option to sign in with Google, possibly other login platforms as well. But once you do that, it'll give you a random part that you can print, and you download it, print it, send pictures with measurements to confirm that you printed it. And if you want to print multiple, then they'll let you, sounds like at that point, they'll let you download another one so that you can kind of bulk ship everything instead of shipping one at a time. So if anybody who's catching the stream now, just jumping in, or catching the stream later on wants to print parts for the We the Rosie, just check in the description below. I'll have the links in there within the next 12 hours or so. I'll have the links for everybody to utilize. So definitely appreciate everybody's help making this project happen for them. And Travis said he wants to talk about how awesome the stream is, and that he hates that it's on Friday because it makes him miss out.
Oh.
You just gotta be more dedicated, Travis. So
We love you, Travis.
I hate that it's this late at night, because some of us have to get up early and do morning coffee.
And make it to the end of this stream? It sounds like we're winding down. I can finally say I made it to the end.
Yeah.
That Xander always outlasts me.
Yeah, right.
I've had a long week at work, so yeah, I'm not necessarily up for going real late tonight. If there's nothing else from everybody, I guess we'll wrap things up now. Again, the next stream is May 18th at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. We will announce on Twitter and on Facebook who's going to host that one and what the topic will be as soon as we know it. So I guess
can we talk about 3D printing?
Can we talk about 3D printing now or then?
No, then the next live stream.
I'm pretty sure we can fit that in the conversation.
All right. No, I don't have anything else to talk about. I really appreciate everyone joining in. I appreciate Daryl coming in and Jen and Josh. Man, I mean, this is I'm awestruck with you guys. I've always been a big fan of Josh, man. He's here, and I'm like, I'm getting emotional now. So, that's cool. So thanks for joining in.
Well, with that, thanks to everybody who joined in and co-hosted tonight, and thank you to everybody in the chat, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right. Bye now.